Imagine this. A drone flies over 1,600 kilometers. That's nearly 1,000 miles deep inside Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And it hits a critical chemical plant. I mean, a plant absolutely vital to their war machine.
Right.
This happened September 13th, 2025. And it wasn't just, another attack.
No, definitely not.
It was a deep strategic blow. And it's fundamentally rewriting the rules of modern warfare. You're about to find out how and why. Welcome to Nation Scope Podcast.
Great to be here.
Join us as we dive into the latest headlines, breaking stories, and critical events shaping America and the world.
From politics, culture, economy, tech.
Yep, we analyze the news that matters most. Today, we're digging into what some are calling the Perm Gambit.
That's Ukraine's big strike on the Metafrax chemicals plant, way out in Russia's Perm Krai.
Exactly. And our mission here in this deep dive is to figure out how this 1,600-kilometer operation marks a real evolution in Kyiv's strategy.
Yeah, it shows off some serious tech capabilities, smart intelligence work.
And a shift, really, towards systemic economic warfare. We'll look at the target, why it's so important, the tech that makes these strikes even possible.
And the risks, of course. The escalating risks this new phase brings.
Stick with us. This is where the conflict gets really interesting. Okay, let's start with the strike itself. Evening of September 13th, 2025, about, 9:02 p.m. local time.
That's right. A Ukrainian long-range UAV hits an industrial site, Gubaka, Perm Krai, deep inside Russia.
And we're not talking just over the border. This is like 1,600 to 1,800 kilometers away.
It's an incredible distance, a huge leap in their operational reach, and precedented, really.
And this wasn't some rogue drone, right? This was state-directed.
Definitely. Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, the HUR, specifically their Unmanned Systems Forces unit.
So, a strategic, high-value operation.
Absolutely. And it happened during a wider wave of attacks, too, clearly trying to swamp Russia's air defenses, spread them thin.
The information coming out afterwards is interesting. Quite the contrast.
Well, yeah. Ukrainian intelligence in Kyiv was very specific. They said the UAV hit equipment for making urea.
Urea, okay.
Specifically in a brand new facility, the AUM complex. Ammonia-urea melamine, only launched in 2023.
A new facility.
Wow.
And it had already churned out like 300,000 tons of ammonia in just 8 months.
Right.
So, significant production.
And the Russian response?
Predictably different.
Yeah.
The Perm governor, Dmitry Makonin, admitted a drone hit an industrial site, but then no casualties operating normally.
Right, the standard line. And telling people not to share photos or videos.
Exactly. So you have to ask, why the tight control on the narrative?
Yeah.
Ukraine's details signal success, precise intel. It's good for morale.
Whereas Russia's vagueness tries to project strength, make it seem like their air defenses are impenetrable.
Precisely. Avoid any public panic or loss of confidence.
That difference is stark. And hitting a newly commissioned facility, what's the thinking there? It's not just about breaking something, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Hitting the new plant like that,
Yeah.
It maximizes the economic pain, nullifies recent investment.
Exactly. It wipes out that recent investment
Yeah.
and makes repairs much more complex, much more expensive than fixing older stuff.
It also says a lot about their intelligence, knowing exactly where to hit.
Definitely. Pinpoint accuracy for maximum strategic effect.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Why Metafrax chemicals? Why was this plant so important?
Well, it's a major player. Metafrax is Russia's second largest producer of organic synthesis chemicals. They were even on the Forbes list back in 2021.
And connections to the military.
Yes, through its parent company, Roschem. They supply chemicals to defense industries. That's why they're already under UK and Ukrainian sanctions.
So beyond the business side, how does a chemical plant like this become such a vital military target? What's the link?
It really comes down to dual-use chemicals, stuff with both civilian and military uses.
Right.
And Metafrax makes several key ones, things that are basically building blocks for military explosives.
Like the urea they targeted.
Exactly. Urea is used heavily in fertilizer, sure, but it's also a core component in ammonium nitrate explosives. Think artillery shells, landmines.
And they hit the new production line for it.
Precisely. Then there's methanol, that's fundamental for lots of defense processes, and hexamin, or erythropine.
Okay.
That's crucial for making RDX a very powerful high explosive. And also PTN, penterythritol tetranitrate.
PTN. Right, another big one. Used in det cords, munitions.
Yep. One of the most potent explosives. So look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about taking out one part.
It's about crippling the whole chain.
Exactly. Trying to cause a systemic failure, cutting off the supply of multiple types of explosives and propellants way upstream. It's a shift from hitting ammo depots
To hitting the factories that fill them. Systemic disruption.
That paints a clear picture. But, striking a chemical plant, that sounds risky. What about international law? Hazardous materials.
That's a really important question. And yes, hitting chemical plants involves serious risks. Methanol, hexamin, PTN, these are dangerous substances.
Potential for accidents, toxic clouds, contamination, civilian danger.
Absolutely. And international humanitarian law, IHL, comes into play here. Article 56 of Additional Protocol Y.
Right, the one about protecting installations containing dangerous forces.
It doesn't explicitly list chemical plants, but the principle applies. However, there's a caveat.
Protection is lost if the facility gives significant and direct support of military operations.
And if attacking it is the only feasible way to stop that support.
So given Metafrax's role-making explosive precursors for the Russian military,
It arguably becomes a legitimate military target under IHL. And maybe that precision targeting hitting just one production unit, not the whole storage area?
it's a deliberate attempt to minimize those catastrophic risks, to thread that needle legally and practically.
It seems plausible. Okay, so let's talk about the how. Ukraine's long-range drones. Why this big push for deep strike capability?
Well, it really comes down to necessity, doesn't it? They needed an answer, an asymmetric response.
Asymmetric meaning.
Meaning they can't match Russia plane for plane, missile for missile. So they developed their own long-range drones. Cost-effective, and crucially, under their own control.
Because Western weapons often have strings attached. Range limits, restrictions on hitting Russian territory.
Exactly. These domestic drones give Ukraine strategic autonomy. They can hit high-value targets deep inside Russia without needing a green light from partners. It lets them take the fight to Russia's rear areas, logistics, industry, command centers.
And the technology involved, 1,600 kilometers, what kind of ranges are we seeing now? It's developed so fast.
It really is staggering. The Metafrax strike at 1,600 kilometers, that came after hitting the Bashneft refinery at 1,500 kilometers.
Right.
And then they set that record, hitting the Voronezh M radar near Orsk, over 1,800 kilometers, a world record for a one-way combat drone mission.
Incredible. And what drones are they using?
They've built up quite a portfolio. The UJ-26 Beaver gets you about 1,000 kilometers. Newer ones, like the FP1, can do the 1,600 kilometers for the Metafrax strike.
And reports of even longer ranges.
Oh, yeah. They've announced successful tests of a 3,000-kilometer drone. And development of the Flamingo cruise missile, also 3,000-kilometer range, but with a huge 11,150-kilogram payload.
Wow.
The speed of this evolution is just remarkable, and it really puts almost all of European Russia potentially at risk.
So it's not just about distance. It's about how they're using them. A new doctrine. Weaponizing geography.
That's a good way to put it. They've refined how they operate. It's not just single, isolated strikes anymore.
Like that September 12th to 14th wave.
Exactly. Coordinated attacks, hitting multiple places far apart, all at roughly the same time. Perm Krai, Leningrad Oblast, Bashkortostan, railway lines.
Operation Spiderweb, some call it.
Right. It forces Russia to defend everywhere at once. And that huge territory, which used to be Russia's advantage, their strategic depth.
Now becomes a liability.
Precisely. Because their air defenses just can't cover everything, especially deep in the rear. It creates this impossible choice for Moscow. Which, do they pull their best air defense systems, scarce things like Pantsir S-1s or S-400s, away from the front lines to protect cities and factories hundreds, even thousands of kilometers away?
Weakening their forces in active combat.
Right. Or do they just accept the damage happening deep inside Russia? The economic hits, the military production losses.
Either way, Ukraine gains an advantage.
Exactly. It inverts Russia's traditional strength. That vastness becomes a vulnerability.
Which brings us back to the broader campaign. Metafrax wasn't alone. It was part of that intense pulse, September 12th to 14th.
A clear pattern. You mentioned the Bashneft Novoil refinery in Ufa, Bashkortostan, almost 1,500 kilometers away. Significant damage there.
And the Kirishi refinery, Kyiv, near St. Petersburg, one of Russia's biggest, hit September 14th.
That impacts fuel for everyone, military and civilian. And don't forget the railway sabotage.
Right. Oriol-Kursk, St. Petersburg's gas lines, hitting military supply routes.
It's not random pot shots. It looks like a very coherent strategy, aiming for systemic effects, cascading failures in the war economy.
So the explicit goals are
Weaken Russia's military economic base. undermine war financing, degrade weapons and fuel production. It's like opening a second front, an economic one.
And we're seeing results,
Right.
like with the refineries.
Yeah. Reports suggest up to 17% of Russia's refining capacity might have been knocked out in 2025. That leads to real problems, domestic fuel shortages, price spikes.
Gasoline prices going up inside Russia.
Yes, and the government even had to ban fuel exports temporarily to try and stabilize things. That hits the military, and it hurts ordinary Russians.
And there's a psychological dimension too, isn't there?
Absolutely critical. Every successful strike deep inside Russia shatters that feeling of safety, the illusion that the war is far away.
It disrupts daily life, closes airports.
Forces the state to spend resources on civil defense, makes people anxious. That pressure is a key part of asymmetric warfare, eroding morale, eroding national will.
How's Russia responding beyond the denials?
Well, the pattern is usually deny or downplay the damage, claim they shot down dozens or scores of drones, like saying 80 UAVs during the Metafrax Kyiv wave, and then launch retaliatory strikes against Ukraine. But the fact that Ukraine keeps succeeding, especially at these ranges.
It reveals major gaps in Russia's air defenses.
Yeah.
Especially deep inland.
Exactly. Their best systems are around Moscow or near the front. The industrial heartland seems much more vulnerable, which forces that dilemma again.
Pull systems from the front or accept the damage.
A real no-win situation for them, and either choice helps Ukraine militarily.
Okay, looking forward then. Ukraine tests a 3,000-kilometer drone. They want mass production. How does that change the strategic map?
Fundamentally, a 3,000-kilometer reach. Well, that puts nearly all of European Russia in range.
We're talking industrial centers way out in Siberia, Arctic naval bases.
Potentially, yes. Bases on the Kola Peninsula, and crucially, strategic bomber airfields. Places like Engels, Olenya.
The bases for their long-range bombers.
Exactly. Now, Ukraine probably isn't aiming for, hardened nuclear missile silos, but
hitting the airfields where nuclear-capable bombers are based.
that could be seen by Moscow as strategically significant, very significant. It could potentially lower the threshold for escalation.
A dangerous game.
Very. And at the very least, it forces Russia into a massive, costly effort to disperse assets, harden bases, reorganize its entire air defense posture. A huge burden on an already strained war economy.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening to this? This deep dive shows Ukraine really mastering asymmetric economic warfare.
Yeah, using tech, using intel to hit Russia where it hurts foundational vulnerabilities, and turning Russia's own size against it.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, what does it mean globally?
Well, it highlights this massive shift in warfare, doesn't it? Geography isn't the shield it used to be. Long-range drones are relatively accessible now.
Which forces us all to rethink what security even means.
Exactly. Distance doesn't guarantee safety anymore.
So here's a final thought. As this drone tech keeps getting better, cheaper, more widespread, placing critical infrastructure at risk for even non-state actors, how prepared are our own nations for this kind of deep strike economic warfare? What challenges does that bring that maybe we haven't even thought of yet? You've been listening to NationScope Podcast, where Jordan and Jamie analyze the stories shaping America and the world.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll catch you next time.